If you've ever wondered the difference between Claude as a chat tool, Claude Cowork, and Claude Code, then this video is for you. If this is your first time on the channel, my name is Tanner O'Brien. I am the CEO of ActionCOACH Benefic Group, which has locations here in Central Texas and in South Miami. I am on this crazy journey to build this business, build this platform within the ActionCOACH franchise, and retire my parents from our family business here, ideally by the end of this year, 2026. As a part of this journey, it's required me to think about what does the future of business look like? And part of that future is AI. So what I'd like to do today is share a little bit about the difference between Claude as a chat tool, Claude Cowork, and Claude Code to give you some idea of what they can be used for, and probably most importantly, how I'm using them so you can see real life examples. Here on the screen, I've brought up my Claude desktop app. Here in the desktop app, you're going to see three main things right up at the top. Here at the top, you've got three different areas. You've got the chat, you've got Cowork, and you've got Code. So I'm going to take you through each one of these and how I use them in the business and just overall in my own personal life. So let's start here with Claude as a chat tool. Like many of the other chat tools, whether it be ChatGPT, it be Gemini, it be Grok, it be any of the other tools out there, this interface, the chat tool, is what most individuals, most of you out there probably are familiar with. The ability to have a conversation with an AI model. Here within Claude, the best way to think about this is Claude as a chat tool is my thought partner. This is where I discuss ideas. It's where I brainstorm. It's where I research, explore, hold me accountable to the different things that I said that I want to achieve. These are the types of things I use this particular tool for. It is the fallback for everything. It is the second iteration of my brain. It allows us to continue to think through ideas in different iterations of things. That is the primary use case for the chat tool overall. Here in my Claude, I wanted to show just a couple examples of what I'm doing with it. So you can sit here and you go, Tanner, that's fantastic. I love that you're using it as a chat interface, you're using it to think about things, but like what specifically do you do with it? So I want to highlight a couple things. So the first one is I have projects, folders essentially built out with a couple different instructions, things of that nature to be able to help refine the types of conversations that I'm having, giving it context. When you're dealing with chat tools like this, whether it be ChatGPT, be Claude, it be Gemini, any of the tools, context still matters. Context is probably one of the most important things when it comes to having an effective chat with these tools. So here I have a couple different categories. One of them is going to be based on business. So each of the businesses that I run, operate, or am involved with, I've got a folder specifically for that, where all of the conversations that I have, all of the brainstorms, all of the thinking lives in that folder. One, it's super helpful to be able to organize in that way, but it also allows me to add context. So as an example, I pulled up my ActionCOACH folder, and over on the right-hand side, you can see memory, you can see specific instructions where I've been able to type in some things that help guide those conversations. Then I can upload files. So I can upload my plans. I can upload different ideas. I can upload the ActionCOACH manifesto that allows us to really understand what is the core mission of what we do within this company. All of those help provide the guardrails for where our conversations go whenever I start a chat here in the project. So here's where an example use case comes in. About a month ago, as time of this recording, we acquired another firm, another territory within the ActionCOACH world. And that was going to require us to effectively do a marketing launch in the new territory. So this is where I started. Before getting into any of the work, getting into any of the planning, I sat down and I started to brainstorm. What are ways that I can and the team can start to properly launch a marketing campaign in this brand new territory that we have not had access to in the past? This is where I start a chat with context. So I give it the instructions, I give it the information that it needs for us to start working through what is it specifically that we can go do and really think through ideas. It's not a one shot, here's an idea, give me an answer, move on. This is, let's start with some context and let's get into conversation. So here you can see it even builds out a visual for me to kind of think about how we engage people within this potential marketing plan, to moving into a marketing blitz and moving through that particular process. So I'm not going to go through all of the detail here with you today, but the context here is in the chat tool, I'm using it as a brainstorming, a pre-planning thought dump, just a place to start the process before we start taking any action. Always important to be able to know, like, where are we headed? What are the things that we're going to be doing before we get into doing the work? So this is how I use the chat tool for that specific purpose. Another big purpose that I'm using all of this for right now is health and fitness. So when it comes to how I train and how I eat and the goals that I have for myself, just from a health and fitness perspective, this is my go-to place. And that's because I can upload various goals and ideas and past benchmarks and all of the things that I've done fitness and health wise. And then I have a conversation thread that is specific to my training plan for this moment. So in Q2 of 2026, this conversation thread starts with my goals, and we continue to work so that every single day I ask it for what's next up on the plan. What am I doing today? What do I need to be eating? How do I need to be thinking about these things? Oh, I had this idea here. I wanted to go eat these types of things. How can I work that into the nutrition plan that I'm working for this quarter? All of that lives in this folder to help keep me accountable to the things that I want to achieve. It becomes my conversation buddy as I walk through this process. So this is the simple context. I don't think that many of you, if you're watching this video, more than likely you've used various aspects of a chat tool like this in the past. That's fantastic. These are a couple ways that I am currently using it on a regular basis every single day. But now let's get into the more powerful pieces, starting with Claude Cowork. So first, we got to take a step back and say, what is Claude Cowork? So Claude Cowork is essentially my on-computer worker. This tool has access to anything I want to give it access to on my computer. So files, applications, browser, you name it. If it's on your computer, this tool is designed to be your on-computer worker. So what does that mean? What are some ways that we can use this tool? How do I use the Cowork tool, especially compared to the chat tool? Cowork is going to bias towards actually doing work, whereas the chat tool is a great brainstorming, thought partner, working through ideas. Cowork is going to bias towards actually doing activity, doing the next step, taking action on things. So I use this a tremendous amount for reviewing data, for building work within Excel worksheets. Now, let me give you a little bit of context here. About 14, 15 months ago, before a lot of these tools were widely used in this way, I had to learn a tremendous amount of things within Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets. I needed to build some amazing dashboards. I needed to be able to understand data. I had to do some complex formula building to connect different sheets. And it took hours of my time. I remember working on both some data within the business and with some additional clients where I'm literally sitting on the couch in front of the TV trying to get all the things pulled together because it literally took a tremendous amount of time and connection to be able to do all of this. Well, fast forward to today, this tool can do it in a matter of minutes and do it better than I ever could. Now I can give it access and say, hey, here's an initial sheet of data. I need to pull it into a budget versus actual. I need to look at my marketing data and understand where are the bottlenecks? What are the things that are working well? Where are the things that are getting stuck? And it can pull all of this together and put it into a new spreadsheet or new tabs within a spreadsheet that look absolutely amazing. And I didn't have to do any of the work. It's like having an Excel master in your pocket that you can use at any moment in time. So reviewing data, building things in Excel is a massive way that I use this thing to save a tremendous amount of time and better understand the things that are going on. Working in the browser is another big piece. So when we connect this thing to the browser, allow it to use Google Chrome, it can go into the browser, anything that you're logged into, and actually take over and start to do work. I did a whole video last week on how I used this specific tool and the browser extensions to be able to go into my CRM, do a complete audit, and help me understand where do we need to be focusing our efforts for cleaning it up, for better understanding what's going on in the CRM itself, and what are the actions that myself and the rest of the team can be taking to actually move the needle. Compiling data is another big aspect of how to use this tool. I don't know about you. There are times when I've had pieces of data over here, and then in this folder, and this one's in a PDF, this one's in a Word document, this one's in a memo, this one's in an Excel sheet. And it all tells some story, but somehow we have to pull this thing together and understand, what are we actually trying to convey? What are the things that I actually need to know so that I can make real decisions in my business? This tool, Claude Cowork, is a phenomenal tool to take all of those pieces of information, put them into a folder on your computer, give this tool some context, plug it into that folder, and allow it to look through everything. It's going to analyze all the data. It's going to start looking at how things connect, and it can come back to you and build a single 1-page, 2-page, 3-page document that summarizes the data and puts it in terms that you can actually understand. Probably more importantly, that you can then convey to others, make decisions off of. This becomes an amazingly powerful tool to aggregate that data and be able to pull it all into one spot for you. What makes this even more powerful is you're not uploading that information into Claude's database. It's all staying local on your computer. Now, that's all fine and dandy when it comes to business related things. But what about personal? Are there some cool things we can do personally within Claude Cowork? Now, this has been my favorite use case so far. Here in a few months, my wife and I are planning to take a trip to Europe. So we've got a little bit of planning to do. And we're planning to hit a couple different cities, 3 different countries, and understanding how things are going to connect. Where are we going to stay? What is this entire itinerary going to look like? Well, being able to pop open the Claude Cowork, give it a little bit of context, and build a chat that allows us to start figuring out what's the itinerary. Where should we go? What is the best possible schedule that we can pull together? Which all this can be done in a traditional chat thread, yes. But adding it into Cowork gives you the ability to start building all of those itinerary documents in a file on your computer that you can access at any time. It has live access to the browser. So rather than saying, I think these things might be good, it can actually go look up train schedules, rooms at hotels, what's available, where they at, get real pricing data, even to the point where if I give it enough information and enough access, it could go book the things for me. Now, what's probably my favorite thing about this now today is, yes, we've got the chat thread and it's moving everything into a folder for me, but now we can move into these things called live artifacts. So as an example, by asking it to create a live artifact, it can now pull up right within Claude Cowork that gives me an idea of the different things that we're going to need to be able to do, from when the trip is going to be happening, how many days are left, what are the things that we need to get done, what is the itinerary, what are the bookings we need to make, what are the estimated costs based on everything today, what hotels are we going to stay at, and everything is updated in real time. Absolutely insane what's available. This just makes the whole process more visible. So that's how we're using Cowork. Now I want to move on to my favorite tool, which is going to be Claude Code. So first off, let's start. What is Claude Code? Or how should we be thinking about what Claude Code is? Claude Code, in probably the easiest way I know how to explain it, this is the tool that you build with. This is the thing that allows you to take all of those ideas, all of those thoughts, all of those exciting things that are in your mind and make them real. Build things that have never been built before. Build things you would have never had access to before. Claude Code is my tool for when I get to the point of asking the question, is this possible? Can I build something? I don't love this tool over here and I don't love this tool over here, but I love these aspects of this one and these aspects of this one. And I need something that just is perfect for me in my own business, in my own personal life. The question then becomes, I wonder if I can build it. Claude Code is the answer. Rather, it's one of the answers. It's not the only game in town, but if you're in the Claude ecosystem, this becomes a great tool to work with. Now, this is a little bit more technical. There are a few more pieces to learn along the way. Claude Chat is very simple to just go in and start asking questions. Claude Cowork is relatively straightforward, connecting it to folders. Once we get to Claude Code, it is helpful to understand a few more technical items when it comes to coding and where files are stored and things of that nature. I tend to recommend, if you're going to get into this, take a little bit of time to ask Claude Chat, perhaps, to teach you a little bit about GitHub, to teach you a little bit about the different platforms that are available for databases on the back end. My go-to tends to be Supabase. If you're going to be launching software, launching apps, even just for your own private use, you're going to want some way to be able to use those that's not just on your local computer, in which case you're going to need some sort of hosting platform. My go-to has been Vercel. There are a lot of different ways to use this. There is a bit more of a technical setup, but when you think of the process, what can I build? Is that possible? This is one of the core tools that I use to make that a reality. So to give you a couple of quick use cases, I've got a dashboard platform that I am building because I was at a point where I was really just running out of space in Excel. Excel has been great, been able to allow us to run a lot of things within the business, but as complexity starts to grow and we need multiple people being able to access things, I sat down and I asked myself, is there a way for me to just create a software, a platform that my team can log into? You can see the various aspects of the financials or the marketing or the team recruitment and hiring, the planning for the business. Can all this just be pulled into one spot? Can we build something? And just by asking that question and knowing that these tools exist, allow us to say, yeah, now it's just a matter of how complex do we want to go with it. And it can, if you're anything like me, it can be an absolute rabbit hole to go down. So be very careful with this if you don't want to lose a ton of time. It allows us to start thinking more creatively in what's possible and how can we solve things differently in the business. The other use case for this has been website. So our ActionCOACH Benefic Group website is not built on WordPress. It's not built in HubSpot or Go High Level or anything else like that. Nothing wrong with those particular tools, but I wanted something a little bit more custom, something that if I wanted to change, I could simply just pop in here, go to the last chat thread and say, hey, I want to update these specific things, go do it. And it goes and does all of the updates for me. And I don't have to worry about drag and drop and all of these other things. It just simply does the work. And it's been amazing to see. It's a simple use case, but it's a use case here that has been really helpful. And it is truly a matter of just asking questions. So similar to the chat interface in Claude Chat, in Claude Cowork, this is another one where you don't have to know all of the coding languages. You just speak in human language, right? So if you're an English speaking individual, you just type plain English into this thing and it knows what you're talking about. It will ask you questions back and you can continue to iterate to get the final output that you're looking for. This can seem scary. There's a lot of things that come along with it. There is a little bit more of a learning curve when it comes to Claude Code, but I will give you from my own perspective, I do not come from a programming background. I do not know the language of code, but I do know how to think about what are the things that work well for me? What are the things that work well in my business? And how can I use these tools? How can I ensure that I'm not afraid of them so that I continue to work in them, play in them, and learn the process as I go? So I'll give you a quick couple steps back. If you're not ready for Claude Code, totally understand that. It's not where I started either. There are some amazing vibe coding tools out there that are a fantastic place to start. These are tools like Lovable or Bolt.new. Very simple, go in, start asking it questions, and it will connect a lot of those things for you. You want to take it one step more complex. The tool that really brought this all to life for me was a tool called Replit. And Replit does all of the hosting, all of the backend database, all of the things wrapped into one thing. So all you have to know is, can I take an idea out of my head and start have a conversation with an AI tool that allows me to build something real? If you can think that, if you can do that, then Replit is a really great place to start. That for me was my training ground. It gave me a chance to really understand what and how these things connected until I was ready to make the leap, learn a little bit more technical knowledge, and start to build and host things on my own using Claude Code. Now let's talk for a second, the bonus features. So we've talked chat, we talked Cowork, we talked code, but the superpower behind all of this is skills and connectors. So when you're in your settings of Claude, there is this section for connectors. And there is a really, really long list of connectors depending on what your workflows are. You can see a few examples of mine here, from GitHub to Canva to Gmail, Google Calendar, QuickBooks, Notion, Slack, and many, many more, right? The purpose behind this is to really think about what are the tools, what are the things that I need to give access to, and you have full control over how much access you want to give it. Start small and start to add as you go. The more access you give it, the more it can do for you. The second piece here is skills. For skills, if you go to capabilities, scroll to the bottom, there's a place for skills to move to customize. Click on customize, and it will take you to skills. Skills are essentially a core set of instructions that allow Claude to be trained on a specific thing that you want it to be able to do. So when it comes to connectors and it comes to skills, I always like to equate it back to team members. If I'm going to hire a new team member in my business today, there's a few things that happen. First, we have to give them an email account. We have to give them access to our CRM. We have to give them maybe a Zoom account. We have to give them access to things within the business. Claude is no different. Now, it doesn't have to be your business. It can be just things for you personally. But for a team member or for a tool like Claude to be able to do things for you, you have to give it access. So giving it access to its own set of tools allows it to do more for you. Now, the second thing that we do when it comes to hiring a new team member, bringing somebody else into our world to do work with us, is training them. We have to give them the tools. We have to give them the knowledge. We have to give them the context of how we do business or how we operate within our own personal lives. These tools are no different. We have to give them access to information. That information can be us having a few conversations with it to train it. It can be a set of preloaded skills that are instructions based on certain workflows and things that we've got within our business or our personal life. It can be access to different databases and pieces of information or documents that have been uploaded. All of these things have to help train the tool or train the thing that you want to be working with. Team members and something like Claude here are no different. If you treat this the same way that you would treat bringing on a new person into your business, you will have 10 times more success using this tool. So let's bring this all back home for a second. I hope that there was a few things in here that you've been able to take away, a few things that you can go play with and test out starting right at the end of this video. But I'm going to call it out for a second and say there are a tremendous amount of things you can do within AI. There are a lot of different tools that you can be using. And I'm not here to say that Claude or Anthropic is the best tool out there. What I am saying is that for me in my workflows today, as of recording this video, this has been the right tool for me. It has been the right tool that has helped me achieve the things that I want to achieve because I start with the outcomes first and then look for the tools that can allow me to solve for those things. For you, it might be ChatGPT. For you, it might be Gemini because you're a power user within Google. For some of you, it might be Grok and using the AI tools that Elon Musk has created. They're all becoming pretty darn amazing. Find the tools that work best for you, get really, really good at them, and don't be afraid to test out and play in some new areas. I believe that as we move into this next age of business, the fundamentals, the core frameworks that work in business, that run successful businesses, those remain unchanged. What has changed is how we interact with these building blocks of business. AI is changing the game with regards to how we interact with these building blocks. It's changing what business can look like in the future. So as I continue on this journey to retiring my parents from our family business before the end of the year, I will continue to look at what are the tools available? What does the future of business look like? How does things interact? And what tools do I need to put in place to make this crazy dream a reality. So stay locked in. And as always, let's go build some amazing businesses together.